I have a question for you. What happens when you take skateboarding culture and mix it with high fashion? You get bricks. I'm just kidding. But actually, I'm not. Because in 2016, Supreme dropped a run of red clay bricks, and they sold out in seconds. Since its inception in 1994, Supreme has gained global recognition and achieved legendary status in the world of streetwear, with a growing presence in the fashion industry. It could be argued that Supreme is the most influential brand of the 21st century, with its ravenous, loyal customer base and constant growth over the years. They're currently valued at over $1 billion and have collaborations with the likes of Louis Vuitton, Kermit the Frog, and Oreo. But even though Supreme's popularity is far-reaching, they're not loved by all. Over the years, certain people have developed a distaste for the brand, for a variety of reasons. From Reddit posts trying to understand it, to articles straight up telling you to not buy Supreme, I decided to investigate it for myself. Today, we're going to take a look at the history of Supreme, why they're hated, and whether or not that hate is warranted. Founder James Jebbia had a fair amount of experience in the fashion and retail industry, having worked at a variety of clothing and skate shops, as well as alongside Stussy founder Sean Stussy. Born July 22, 1963, James spent the first year of his life in the United States of America. His father served in the United States Air Force, and his mother, a teacher and homemaker. At 1 year old, Jebbia's parents relocated to Crawley, West Sussex in the United Kingdom, and divorced when he was just 10 years old. As a child, James took to acting and starred as Tommy Watson on a BBC program called Grange Hill, but only starred on the first season of the show. From there, he went on to get parts in smaller films and television shows, before he began working at a Duracell factory in West Sussex as a teenager. In the early 1980s, while working at Duracell, James would listen to artists like T-Rex and David Bowie on his breaks, daydreaming about his next trip to London. As a teen, he would save up all his money from Duracell and take trips to London to buy clothes. But not just any clothes, the cool kind. The kind that nobody else was wearing and that no other stores sold. And this type of elusive store and clothing, which almost felt like a secret club, became the inspiration and model for the first Supreme store. In 1983, at just 19 years old, Jebbia decided to move back to the United States, settling in Staten Island, New York. His first job in New York was working at a minimalist skate shop and clothing store called Parachute, located in Soho, Manhattan. There, he worked with a fellow employee named Eddie Cruz, who would go on to start the sneaker store and apparel brand Undefeated. After working at Parachute, Jebbia got a job at the nearby flea market, where he worked a table. But this type of work proved unsatisfying for him, so he began to save up his money to open his own store. And in 1989, he opened his first retail venture called Union NYC, a streetwear store which carried a mix of mainly English clothing brands. In 1991, Union was doing so well that it caught the attention of Stussy owner Sean Stussy. And once they began selling Stussy in Union, the store took off. But James and Sean's business relationship didn't end there. They became great friends, and James even helped Sean run a Stussy store before Sean decided to retire. Once Sean retired, James had no idea what to do. He didn't really want to work at Stussy anymore since Sean was no longer a part of it, but at the time didn't have anything else going on. So he came up with a plan. Jebbia liked what was coming out of the skate world at the time. It was less commercial and embodied a certain edginess and in-your-face tone, which resonated with him. With a small investment of $12,000, James opened the first Supreme location in an old office space, April 1994. It was located on Lafayette Street in Lower Manhattan, but Lafayette Street was far from a busy commercial hub. James says he picked this location because there was nowhere else to buy skate products in the area. He designed the store with skater needs in mind. It was set up so all products were on the perimeter, so kids could just skate in and not even have to get off their skateboard. Kids who grew up going to the store often recall it as more of a hangout than a store. The people he chose to employ were often kids from the area who skated and were in touch with the local scene. His first employees were extras in the cult classic film Kids, directed by Larry Clark. Within Supreme's first year, designers from Europe and Japan were paying attention. At first, Supreme made and sold only a few t-shirts. But once their customers began showing up wearing Carhartt paired with Louis Vuitton and Gucci with Levi's, James suddenly had an idea. If they made products that were a little higher in quality, people would be willing to pay way more for them. So they tried their idea out with cotton hoodies, and they were an instant hit, along with the fitted caps they tried next. Supreme was essentially the first skate brand to say, hey, just because you're a skateboarder doesn't mean you won't love this expensive, top-notch hoodie. And this made young buyers feel not only respected, but empowered. Collaborations came along quick, with artists designing graphics for skateboards, t-shirts, and other apparel. But their most important collab came in spring 2012, when they worked with Japanese fashion label Comme des Garçons to create a line of shirts and hats. Because before this, Supreme had little to no presence in the fashion industry, and for some, it was their first peek into the world of Supreme and what they're all about. It also helped get the word out to celebrities that Supreme was cool and fashionable, with a slew of celebrities who began repping the brand, especially rapper Tyler the Creator, who began wearing Supreme in the early 2010s and played a big role in building them hype. In 2017, Supreme worked with Louis Vuitton to create an extensive range of skateboards, trunks, and hoodies, letting the world know that they're far more than just a skate company. But things took a turn for the worse in 2018, when Supreme lost a lawsuit in an Italian court, and the European Union refused to register their trademark. So this meant bootleg Supreme items could legally be made and sold in Spain and Italy, which caused a lot of confusion because the fake Supreme stores actually looked real. However, after many headaches, the EU IPO found that Supreme's brand is distinct and eligible for an EU trademark, and put an end to their trademark problem. Since 2018, Supreme has continued to release high-quality, unique clothing, strange accessories, and insane collaborations. When it comes to why Supreme is hated, my question is, how much time do you have? But all jokes aside, there are quite a few reasons, so we're just going to start from the top and go down the list. And it all starts with their logo. Some claim that Supreme stole their logo from the artwork of Barbara Kruger, who created lots of anti-capitalist artwork in the 1980s, which bears a striking resemblance to Supreme's logo. Kruger is aware of this and has even issued a colorful statement regarding the alleged plagiarism. As a result, all of Barbara Kruger's fanbase hates Supreme, along with some of the art world, viewing them as unoriginal copycats. But it doesn't end there. Supreme even catches flack from the world they supposedly cater to, skateboarding. Because let's face it, Supreme isn't a skateboard company or brand anymore. Which sounds weird to say, but hear me out. For example, if I see someone wearing an underground skate company shirt, I can safely assume they skate, usually. However, if I see someone wearing Supreme, I assume they're into streetwear, fashion, and might even be a hype beast. And that's not a bad thing, it's just that they might not be as close to their roots as they once were. But as time passes, they've moved further and further away from core skate principles, alienating some of their skate audience. And the reason for this is, in October 2017, Supreme announced they had sold roughly 50% of the company to a private equity firm called the Carlyle Group for the price of $500 million, valuing the company at over $1 billion. Skateboarding is about a lot of things, but it's not about doing business with $1 billion entity for the sake of making more money. To skaters, it felt like them and Supreme no longer stood for the same things, and no longer saw eye to eye. This was further confirmed to the skate community when Supreme was purchased yet again in November 2020 by VF Corporation, the company that owns Vans, in an all-cash deal for $2.1 billion. but state that Gebbia will still continue to run Supreme. Another reason people hate Supreme is for the price and the hype. Some say Supreme is astronomically expensive. And that makes sense, because if you normally buy your clothes at Target and then start looking at this brand Supreme, you will be taken aback by their price points. But some take it a step further and say not only is it too expensive, it's not even worth it. And even if you can afford it, it's almost impossible to get, which opens the door to the secondary market, filled with scalpers and people buying the brand for the sake of reselling it. However, it gets even worse from there, because even if you can afford the prices on the secondary market, you have no guarantee that the product is authentic, unless you buy from certain sites, because fakes and bootlegs are so prevalent in Supreme culture due to their popularity and scarcity, which James Gebbia denies ever making anything purposely limited or scarce. His reasoning is he doesn't want to make too much and get stuck with stuff nobody wants. But James has to know that a big part of Supreme's success is due to their items being perceived as elusive and hard to get. Supreme has become such a powerful mark of status that many buy it just to be cool. And for business reasons, that's great. But the constant hype, despite their lack of formal advertising, has led many to believe that Supreme is now gimmicky and no longer the cool, authentic brand it once was, with young teens and internet hype beasts proudly flaunting a box logo hoodie in their latest Instagram post. At the end of the day, I think the biggest problem Supreme has is that many people feel it's watered down, overplayed, cliche, and a lot less genuine than it once was. To be honest, I don't hate Supreme at all. I think they usually make cool stuff, even if it is difficult to get. But I do understand if someone has a personal problem with the brand. But what do you think? Do you love Supreme? Do you hate Supreme? Have you ever stood in a line for 12 hours? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.